Our story kicks off in the incredible city of Pataliputra, and it's here, in a quiet nunnery, that we meet two enlightened nuns, daasi and Bodhi. They're in the middle of a conversation that's about to unpack a mystery that stretches across entire lifetimes.
And this is the question that really gets the whole thing started. Bodhi looks at her friend daasi, who's young and radiant, and asks her point blank, "Look at you. You're beautiful, you come from a great family, you're in the prime of your life. What possible sorrow could you have seen that made you choose this path?"
And so, daasi starts to tell her story. And it's a real head-scratcher. I mean, she describes a life that, from the outside, makes zero sense. A life of incredible privilege that somehow turned into this story of deep, profound, and totally inexplicable pain. This is the riddle of her rejection. She starts at the beginning, explaining that she had what sounds like a perfect childhood. Her dad was a big-shot merchant in the city of Udenis, and she was his only daughter, literally the apple of his eye. She had everything she could ever want, just showered with love. By all accounts, her life was supposed to be easy. But that perfect picture started to crack when it was time for her to get married. As you're about to see, this is where the real suffering kicked in. What comes next is this tale of 3 different husbands and a baffling, painful pattern that just seemed to defy any and all logic. So her father arranges a fantastic match with the son of another powerful merchant, and daasi, well, she dives right into her new role. She tells Bodhi how she'd wake up early, she'd care for her husband and his parents with just unbelievable devotion, washing their feet, cooking their favorite meals herself, basically treating them like gods. By any and every measure, she was the absolute perfect wife. And then the unthinkable happens. Her husband just turns on her. He's suddenly filled with this inexplicable disgust. Even his own parents were stunned, pleading with him, "Son, what are you doing? She's a treasure. She's kind. She's virtuous." But he wouldn't listen. He just couldn't stand to even look at her and sent her packing. Right back to her father in total disgrace.
You can imagine how heartbroken her father was, but he tries again. He finds her an even better match, a wealthier, more prestigious family. And for about a month, everything seems fine. daasi is just as devoted, just as perfect. But then, the nightmare happens all over again. Out of the blue, filled with that same bizarre repulsion, her second husband throws her out.
Okay, so at this point, her father is at his wit's end. He's thinking maybe the problem is all this wealth and status. So he comes up with this wild plan. He finds a beggar on the street and makes him an offer you can't refuse. "Marry my daughter, and all of this, my mansion, my fortune, my business, it's all yours. The only thing you have to do is stay with her." And this part of the story, it's just devastating. After only a couple of days, the man goes to her father and says, "I can't do it. I would literally rather go back to begging on the streets than spend one more day with your daughter. Just give me back my begging bowl." I mean, think about that. He walked away from a life of unimaginable wealth just to get away from her. This final, crushing rejection just completely broke her. daasi was actually ready to take her own life. But right there, in that moment of absolute rock bottom, a chance meeting sets her on a brand new path, the path to enlightenment. So as she's thinking about her fate, a Buddhist nun named Janadadatta happens to come to her family's home. And daasi is just floored by this woman's incredible sense of peace and calm. In that one moment, she saw a different way out. She begged her parents, who were heartbroken but finally said yes. She was ordained as a nun, and then something amazing happens. The text says that in just 7 days, her mind became so clear that she achieved full enlightenment. Now, what's really fascinating here is that in Buddhist tradition, enlightenment isn't just a feeling of peace. It comes with these incredible abilities called the 3 knowledges. These include things like divine sight and ending all your mental baggage. But the one that matters most for our story is the third one, the power to see all of your past lives. And for the very first time, the riddle of her suffering was about to have an answer. So she turns to Bodhi and says, "Now listen closely. I'm going to tell you the story not just of this life, but of the 7 lives that led me right here. And this is where it all comes out, the hidden cause behind all of her pain." And this timeline here, it's basically the roadmap to the whole mystery. Her suffering as daasi, that's the effect. But it didn't start in this life, no way. To find the cause, she had to trace it back through a life as a jealous wife, as an intersex person, through several animal rebirths,
all the way back to her 7th life, where she was actually a man. So let's follow this chain together, from cause to effect.
All right, let's start at the very beginning, with life number 7. In that lifetime, Isidazi was a man, a rich, handsome goldsmith. But he was arrogant and reckless, and he used his charm and his money to have affairs with the wives of other men. This one act of sexual misconduct, of betraying all that trust, was the tiny seed that would grow into a forest of suffering. The karmic payback was swift, it was brutal, and it was unbelievably specific. Because of his sexual transgressions, he was reborn 3 times as an animal. First, a monkey, who was castrated by the alpha male just 7 days after he was born. Then, a goat, and you guessed it, castrated again. And finally, an ox. Same story, castrated as a calf. The punishment was a direct, physical echo of the original crime. So even after those 3 animal lives, the karmic debt wasn't cleared. He was reborn as a human again, but this time as the child of a slave, born intersex, neither fully male nor female. The sexual confusion he had caused in other people's lives was now reborn as his own physical and social confusion. It was a life lived in shame that ended in misery when he was just 30. Okay, now we get to the life right before this one, and this is the most direct link of all. In that life, she was born as a woman and became the second wife of a merchant's son. But he already had a wonderful, virtuous first wife. Consumed by pure jealousy, she lied, she manipulated, and she poisoned her husband's mind against his first wife until he unfairly drove that innocent woman out of the house. And here's the point. The exact pain she inflicted on that woman became the exact pain she experienced as a daasi. She caused an innocent wife to be unjustly thrown out, and so she, as an innocent wife, was unjustly thrown out 3 times. And this incredible realization was the key that unlocked her freedom. It wasn't a random curse, it wasn't just cosmic cruelty. It was simple cause and effect, playing out across the centuries. And by finally understanding it, she could let it all go.
And Isidazi says this herself. She tells Bodhi that being rejected by her husband was the direct fruit of what she did as that jealous wife. By living through that same pain, by experiencing it herself, the debt was finally paid in full. The karma was done.
So, you see, the really crucial point here is that her enlightenment wasn't about escaping her pain. It was about understanding it so completely that it just didn't have any power over her anymore. She saw the whole chain of cause and effect, she accepted her part in it, and in that moment of understanding, she broke the cycle for good.
When you get right down to it, Isidazi's journey is this incredibly powerful story about consequences. It suggests that our actions, both the big ones and the small ones, create ripples that stretch out way further than we can possibly see. And, well, that leaves all of us with a pretty profound question to think about. What kind of echoes are we creating right now, today?